The day Earth changed forever started like any other at the United Nations building in New York. Sun Park stood at the tall windows, looking at the morning traffic below. As Earth's head of international security, he had seen many strange things, but nothing could have prepared him for what was about to happen. The sky turned purple, not slowly, like a sunset, but all at once. Every screen in the building went black, then lit up with the same message. Greetings, Earth. The Galactic Council wishes to speak with your leaders. 20 minutes later, Sun Park sat in the main meeting room with world leaders and military commanders. Above the large round table, a hologram showed 3 alien beings. They looked almost human, except for their silver skin and eyes that glowed like stars. Earth has progressed well, said the tallest alien. Your technology has reached level 3. You may now join the Galactic Council. The room burst into excited whispers. Sun Park stayed quiet, watching the aliens carefully. He had spent years training in combat, and something in their tone worried him. However, the alien continued. There is one problem. Your combat skills are. The alien paused, as if trying not to laugh. Primitive. The room went silent. Sun Park's hands tightened under the table. He had trained Earth's best fighters for 15 years. Primitive. The word made his stomach tight with anger. What do you mean by primitive? Asked the President of the United States. The aliens pressed something, and a new hologram appeared. It showed their soldiers floating in space, wearing bright armor that moved like water. They fired weapons that bent light itself. Their movements were faster than any human could match. This is modern combat, said the alien. Your soldiers still train with physical weapons. You still teach hand-to-hand fighting. In the age of neural interfaces and quantum weapons, such methods are. Again, that small pause. Cute. Sun Park stood up. He knew he should stay quiet, but 15 years of pride wouldn't let him. Then test us, he said. The aliens turned their glowing eyes to him. What did you say, human? Test us. If you think we're primitive, give us a chance to prove otherwise. The aliens looked at each other. Then the tallest one smiled. Very well. The Galactic Combat Tournament begins in 3 months. We will allow Earth to send 1 warrior. If they can reach even the quarterfinals, we will admit Earth to the Council. And if we win the whole tournament? Sun Park asked. The aliens actually laughed this time. The sound was like bells ringing underwater. If a human wins the tournament, Earth will join the Council with full honors. But understand this. You will face warriors from 1,000 worlds, each with technology centuries ahead of yours. We accept, Sun Park said, before anyone could stop him. After the aliens disappeared, the room exploded with voices. Some people were angry at Sun Park for speaking up. Others were scared about facing alien warriors. But Sun Park was already thinking about who to send. He thought about the secret training facility in the mountains of Korea. About the warrior who trained there, someone who had mastered fighting styles that went back centuries. Someone who could move like a shadow and strike like lightning. Sun Park smiled. Let the aliens laugh about primitive skills. They hadn't met Da Kim yet. And soon, they would learn that humanity's old ways still had power, even in an age of starships and quantum weapons. He took out his phone and dialed a number he rarely used. When someone answered, he spoke just 4 words. It's time. Earth needs you. The alien ship landed in an open field outside Seoul 3 days later. It looked like a drop of silver falling from the sky. Sun Park stood beside Hannah Lee, Earth's top military scientist, as they watched the ship touch down. Are you sure about this? Hannah asked, pushing her glasses up. She had spent the last 3 days studying the videos of alien combat technology. What she saw had kept her awake at night. Yes, Sun Park said, but we need to see their combat systems up close. That's why I asked you to come. The ship's door melted away like ice in hot water. 3 alien warriors walked out, their powered armor moving like liquid metal. Captain Yeon led them, her silver skin shining in the morning sun. "Welcome to Earth's main training facility," Sun Park said, bowing slightly. Captain Neon looked around at the simple building behind them. "This is where you train your warriors." She tried to hide her smile but failed. "How traditional. Would you show us your combat systems?" Hannah asked. "We want to understand what we're up against." The aliens brightened at this request. They love showing off their technology. Captain Neon nodded to one of her warriors who stepped forward. "This is basic combat armor," she explained. The armor rippled and changed color. It reads the warrior's thoughts through neural links. It can turn invisible, create energy shields, and move faster than your eyes can follow. The warrior demonstrated, disappearing and reappearing across the field in the blink of an eye. Then he lifted a rock the size of a car with one hand. "The armor makes the warrior stronger, faster, and smarter," Captain Neon continued. "It can process 1,000 combat scenarios per second and choose the perfect response." Hannah took notes quickly, her eyes narrow. Sun Park saw something in her expression that made him hopeful. "And your weapons?" he asked. The second warrior raised his arm. A weapon grew from his armor like a flower blooming. "Quantum phase disruptors," Captain Neon said. "They can break apart any material at the atomic level." The warrior fired at a target. The metal target didn't explode or melt. It simply stopped existing. "Now," Captain Neon said, "show us your best warrior and their equipment." Sun Park smiled. "Our warrior isn't here yet. But while we wait, would you like to test your systems against some of our soldiers?" Captain Neon agreed, clearly amused. 10 of Earth's best soldiers came out to the field. They wore Earth's most advanced combat suits, lightweight armor that could stop bullets and help them run faster. The battle lasted less than a minute. The alien warrior moved like water, flowing between the soldiers. He never used his weapons. The armor alone was enough to toss the soldiers around like toys. "You see," Captain Neon said kindly, "your technology is too far behind. Even your most advanced weapons are like children's toys to us. How do you expect to compete in the tournament?" After the aliens left, Hannah grabbed Sun Park's arm. Her eyes were bright with excitement. "I saw it," she said. "Their weakness." "What weakness?" "They completely destroyed our best soldiers." "Exactly," Hannah said. "They rely completely on their technology." Did you see how the warrior moved? All that power, but his movements were simple, predictable. They've forgotten the most important combat computer ever made. She tapped her head. The human brain. Their neural links do the fighting for them. They don't need to think, so they don't. And that's where Da can beat them. Sun Park smiled. Maybe Earth had a chance after all. In the mountains, far from the city, a man sat in perfect stillness under a waterfall. Around him, leaves fell but never touched him. Birds flew close but couldn't find him. Dag Kim opened his eyes as his phone buzzed with a message from Sun Park. It was time to show the galaxy what real combat looked like. The mountain air was cold as Sun Park, and Hannah Lee climbed the steep path to Dag Kim's training area. Birds sang in the trees, and a waterfall roared nearby. This place felt 1,000,000 miles away from the alien ships and powered armor they had seen yesterday. "Are you sure about this?" Hannah asked, catching her breath. "The tournament starts in 2 months, and we haven't even seen him fight yet." Sun Park smiled. "Watch and learn." They reached a clearing near the waterfall. At first, Hannah thought it was empty. Then she saw him. Da Kim stood so still under the falling water that she had missed him completely. He wore simple black training clothes and nothing else. "Da," Sun Park called out. "It's time." Day opened his eyes and stepped out from under the waterfall. He wasn't a big man, maybe 5'10" and lean. But something about the way he moved made Hannah's scientist brain light up with interest. Every step was perfect, planned, using exactly the right amount of energy, and not a bit more. "The aliens are here?" Dai asked. His voice was quiet but clear over the waterfall's roar. "Yes, and their technology is incredible," Hannah said. She described the powered armor, the quantum weapons, and the neural combat computers. They move faster than human eyes can follow. Day nodded. Show me. Hannah pulled out her tablet and played videos of the alien warrior defeating Earth's soldiers. Day watched without blinking. His face didn't change, but his eyes got sharper with each move he saw. I see, he said when it was done. See what? Hannah asked. Their weakness. Dad pointed to the video. Watch their feet. The armor moves for them. They don't need to think about balance, about weight, about the ground under them. The computer does it all. He walked to a pile of leaves and stood on them. They trust their technology completely. That makes them predictable. He moved, and suddenly he wasn't standing on the leaves anymore. He was behind them. The leaves hadn't moved at all. Hannah's mouth fell open. How did you? The old masters learned to move without disturbing a single leaf, Dad said. Not because they had special powers, but because they understood movement completely. They trained their bodies and minds until perfect control became natural. Sun Park nodded. The aliens have forgotten this. They let their computers do the work. But a computer can only do what it's programmed to do. It can't create. It can't adapt like a trained human mind. The news spread quickly through the galaxy that Earth was sending a warrior who used no powered armor or neural links. The alien media thought it was a joke. They called Earth foolish and primitive. Some said Earth was insulting the tournament by not taking it seriously. Commander Bach, leader of the Galactic Defense Force, made speeches about how Earth needed to learn its place. But Captain Neon remembered how still Sun Park had been when watching their demonstration. She remembered the look in his eyes. It made her wonder if the aliens were missing something important. In his mountain training ground, Dai Kim prepared. He trained in the rain to learn how the aliens' armor would move in water. He practiced in darkness to understand fighting against invisible opponents. He studied the videos of alien combat until he could predict their movements in his sleep. The aliens had powerful technology, but they were about to learn that humanity's ancient combat arts held secrets that no computer could copy. 1 month before the tournament, the aliens gave Earth access to a training facility on their space station. Dai Kim stood in the massive room, looking up at the high ceiling. The walls could create any training environment he wanted. Hannah Lee stood at the control panel, ready to help him train. The aliens used this room to practice in different gravities, Hannah explained. Should we start with normal Earth gravity? Day shook his head. No, show me zero gravity first. That's where I'll be weakest. The gravity turned off. Dad floated up from the floor, but he didn't panic. He had trained for this. In the mountains, he had practiced fighting while hanging upside down from trees. He had learned to control his body when balance meant nothing. Now add an opponent, he said. One alien warrior in powered armor. A hologram appeared, a perfect copy of the warrior they had seen on Earth. It moved like liquid metal, fast and smooth. Dad watched it carefully, floating in the empty air. The hologram attacked. In zero gravity, Dad couldn't dodge like he would on Earth. But that was fine. He had learned long ago that true dodging wasn't about moving your whole body. Sometimes, moving just an inch was enough. The hologram's punch missed by a hair's width. Day grabbed its arm and used its own movement to spin it around. In zero gravity, the warrior couldn't easily stop its spin. Its powered armor actually made things worse. It tried to correct the spin but overcompensated. Interesting, Hannah said, taking notes. The armor's automatic responses don't work well when their balance is completely gone. Day after day, Dad trained against different challenges. He fought in high gravity that made each step feel like walking through mud. He practiced against invisible opponents, learning to hear the soft hum of their powered armor. He trained in darkness, in rain, in storms created by the training room. Captain Neon watched him sometimes. She started to notice things that worried her. The human never moved the same way twice. The combat computers couldn't predict his next move because he didn't follow any pattern. He's not using any standard fighting style, she told Commander Bach. Our computers can't analyze his technique. Because he has no technique, Commander Bach laughed. He's just a primitive human jumping around. The tournament will show everyone how foolish Earth is. But Captain Neon wasn't so sure. She had studied Earth's history of warfare. She knew that sometimes the most dangerous weapon was the one you didn't consider a weapon at all. 1 week before the tournament, Sun Park visited the training room. He watched Da defeat 10 hologram warriors at once. The human moved like water, like wind, like shadow. No movement was wasted. No pattern could be found. Are you ready? Sun Park asked when the training ended. Day landed softly on his feet as the gravity returned to normal. Almost, he said. The aliens think they're fighting a primitive human who doesn't understand modern combat. Let them think that. They don't need to know that I've learned to turn their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Their strength. Their perfect technology, Da smiled. They trust it so completely that they've forgotten how to trust themselves. The Galactic tournament arena floated in space like a giant silver ring. Thousands of alien ships surrounded it, bringing spectators from 100 different worlds. Inside, the arena could change its size and shape for each fight. Hannah Lee thought it looked like a massive soap bubble made of metal. Da Kim stood in Earth's preparation room, wearing his simple black training clothes. Around him, other warriors wore powered armor that glowed and hummed. They looked at him and whispered to each other, laughing behind their hands. The first round starts in 10 minutes, Sun Park said, checking the tournament schedule. Your opponent is from the Stellar Kingdom. Their warrior has won 3 minor tournaments. Day nodded, staying calm. He closed his eyes and took slow breaths, just as he did under the mountain waterfall. The noise of the crowd above faded away. The arena's first layout was simple, a flat circle with normal gravity. Da walked out to loud laughter from the alien crowd. His opponent, wearing bright blue-powered armor, stood 3 times taller than him. The armor had 4 arms, each holding an energy weapon. This is an insult, the alien warrior's voice boomed through speakers. Send a real fighter, not this primitive. Day said nothing. He stood still, watching, remembering how the powered armor moved in the training room. The alien crowd laughed harder at his silence. The fight started. The alien warrior fired all 4 weapons at once. Energy beams cut through the air toward Da. But Day wasn't there anymore. He had moved, not quickly, but at exactly the right moment. The beams hit nothing but air. The alien warrior's computer systems tried to track Da's movement, but Day didn't move like the computer expected. He didn't jump or roll. He simply wasn't where the attacks went, like leaves falling in the forest, never touching him. Stop moving and fight, the alien warrior shouted, frustrated. The powered armor charged forward, all 4 arms reaching to grab Da. That was the moment Da had waited for. When the warrior was fully committed to the attack, Da finally moved fast. His hand struck a point where 2 pieces of powered armor joined. A simple hit, but perfectly placed. The armor's computer tried to compensate for the strike, but like Captain Neon had noticed in training, it overcompensated. The warrior stumbled. For just a second, the neural link between warrior and armor broke. 1 second was all Da needed. He moved like flowing water, hitting 5 more precise points on the armor. Each strike looked soft, almost gentle, but each one hit exactly where the armor's pieces connected, where the computer sensors linked to each other. The mighty powered armor froze, its systems confused by the broken connections. The alien warrior stood helpless, trapped in his own technology. The arena went completely silent. Then Captain Neon started clapping. Slowly, others joined her. The applause grew until it filled the arena. The crowd had expected a quick joke of a fight. Instead, they had seen something they'd never seen before, their perfect technology defeated by pure human skill. In the preparation room, Commander Bach crushed a metal cup in his hand. "This means nothing," he said. "The real warriors fight in the later rounds. This human will learn his place soon enough." But his hand shook as he watched Da bow politely to his defeated opponent and walk calmly out of the arena. News of Da's first victory spread through the space station like wildfire. Alien warriors who had laughed at him now watched videos of his fight over and over, trying to understand how he had defeated powered armor without using any technology at all. In the training areas, Captain Neon noticed something interesting. Some younger alien warriors had taken off their powered armor. They tried to copy Da's smooth movements, his perfect balance. Most of them could barely walk without their armor's help. "They're like children learning to walk," she told Hannah Lee, who was watching the warriors train. "We've relied on our technology for so long that we've forgotten the basics." Da's next fight came quickly. This time, his opponent was ready for him. The alien warrior wore lighter armor and carried no weapons. "I won't underestimate you like the last one did," the warrior said. The arena changed shape, becoming a series of floating platforms. Gravity shifted randomly between platforms, the perfect place to test powered armor's advantages. But Da had trained for this. When gravity shifted, he didn't fight it. He moved with it, like a leaf in the wind. The alien warrior's armor tried to adjust to each gravity change, its computers working hard to keep balance. That's when Da struck. Not at the armor's joints this time. His opponent had protected those. Instead, he attacked when the gravity shifted, when the computers had to work hardest. Each time the warrior's armor adjusted to new gravity, Da was there, striking in the split second before the computers could respond. The fight lasted longer than the first one, but the result was the same. The alien warrior's perfect technology couldn't match human adaptability. Commander Bach watched from his private box, his silver face dark with anger. "This is impossible," he said. "Our technology is superior in every way. There must be some trick." He sent his best spies to watch Da train between matches. They expected to find hidden technology, secret weapons, anything to explain his victories. Instead, they found him sitting quietly in his room, moving through slow, peaceful exercises that looked more like dancing than fighting. "Sir," one spy reported back, "he's not using any technology at all. He's just moving." "No one just moves," Commander Bach growled. "No one defeats our warriors with primitive physical training." But Da did exactly that. His third opponent tried to copy his style while wearing powered armor. His fourth opponent brought ancient weapons, thinking to match primitive with primitive. His fifth opponent came with armor specifically designed to counter his fighting style. Da defeated them all, each time showing something new. He never used the same move twice. He turned every arena's challenge into an advantage. Floating platforms became his allies. Changing gravity became his weapon. After his fifth victory, Captain Neon made a decision. In secret, she ordered her own warriors to train without their armor for 1 hour each day. "Watch the human," she told them. "He's showing us something we've forgotten. Something important." The tournament's final rounds were approaching. Only 8 warriors remained, and Da was the only one without powered armor. The only one who fought with nothing but skill and wisdom, passed down through generations of Earth's warriors. Commander Bach watched him with growing fear. Fear not just of losing, but of what Da represented. If one human with no technology could do this much damage, what else had the aliens overlooked about Earth? The night before the semifinals, Hannah Lee couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. She walked through the quiet halls of the space station, thinking about all of Da's victories. That's when she heard voices coming from Commander Bach's private office. "The human must not reach the finals," Commander Bach was saying. "If Earth wins this tournament, everything changes. Other worlds might start questioning our combat methods. They might start training without powered armor. Our technology could lose its value." Hannah pressed herself against the wall, listening carefully. Her heart beat faster as she heard the commander's plan. They would sabotage the gravity controls in the arena during Da's next fight. Just small changes, enough to make his movements slightly wrong, enough to make him lose. She waited until the voices stopped, then rushed to find Sun Park. He was in the training room with Dai, who was practicing his slow, peaceful movements in the dim light. "They're going to cheat," Hannah said, telling them everything she had heard. "They'll change the gravity during your fight. Your training won't work right." Sun Park's face grew dark with anger, but Day kept moving through his exercise, calm as still water. "Then I won't use any training at all," he said. "What do you mean?" Hannah asked. "The oldest masters taught that true skill means having no fixed style," Dad explained. "Water has no shape, but it can take any shape. If they change the gravity, I will change with it, like water." "We should report this to the tournament officials," Sun Park said. "No," Day replied. "Commander Bach is right about one thing. This tournament is about more than winning or losing. It's about showing the galaxy a different way of thinking. Let them try their trick. It will only make the lesson stronger." The next morning, the arena was packed. Day's opponent was a warrior from a famous fighting world. His powered armor was the most advanced ever made, with computers that could predict any attack. But when Day walked into the arena, he carried nothing. He wore no protective gear at all. The crowd went silent in surprise. "What is this?" his opponent asked. "Where is your equipment?" "I have everything I need," Dai answered quietly. The fight began. Just as Hannah had heard, the gravity began to shift in strange ways. Sometimes it pulled sideways. Sometimes it pushed up when it should have pulled down. The alien warrior's armor adjusted perfectly to each change. But Dai didn't fight the changing gravity. He didn't try to predict it. Like water flowing down a mountain, he simply let each change move him where it would. His opponent's computers couldn't predict what he would do because even Dai didn't know until each moment came. In the control room, Commander Bach watched in growing fear as his plan failed. The human wasn't just surviving the gravity changes. He was using them. Each shift became part of his movement, making his attacks come from impossible angles. Captain Yun stood watching, a small smile on her face. She had finally understood what Earth was teaching them. True strength wasn't about having the best technology. It was about being able to adapt when technology failed. The day of the final match arrived. The space station buzzed with excitement. Every viewing screen showed Dai's journey through the tournament, from his first surprising victory to his triumph over the rigged gravity. But Commander Bach had one last plan to stop him. In the preparation room, Hannah Lee studied the data about Dai's final opponent. Her face grew pale. "This is impossible," she whispered to Sun Park. "Commander Bach's champion isn't wearing normal powered armor. This is something new." When Dai walked into the arena, he understood what Hannah meant. His opponent stood 3 times taller than any previous warrior. The armor wasn't solid. It looked like a storm of silver mist held in a human shape. Tiny lights danced through it like lightning. "Meet our newest creation." Commander Bach's voice boomed through the arena. "Quantum armor that can change its shape and size at will. No human trick can defeat it because it has no fixed form to attack." The arena changed into a massive space. Stars shone above and below. Gravity could come from any direction or from no direction at all. The perfect place for quantum armor to show its power. "You should give up now," the champion said, his voice echoing strangely through the quantum mist. "This armor has a million ways to defeat you." Day took a deep breath, remembering his training under the waterfall. "Having a million ways to win is the same as having no way to win," he said quietly. "When you chase too many paths, you lose sight of the true path." The fight began. The quantum armor lived up to its promise. It flowed like water, stretched like rubber, moved faster than light. When Day tried to strike it, his hand passed through mist. When it attacked, it came from every direction at once. In the viewing box, Sun Park watched with worry. Even he couldn't see how Day could win against something that had no solid form. But then he noticed something. Each time the quantum armor changed shape, there was a tiny flash of light in its center. Dad had noticed it too. The armor might be able to change shape endlessly, but it still needed a core to control those changes. Like a person's heart, it couldn't move from its center. The quantum warrior attacked again, its armor spreading out like a silver cloud to surround Da completely. Everyone expected this to be the end. No one could fight when trapped inside the enemy's armor. But Da had learned something from all his years of training. The greatest strength comes from being empty, having no resistance, no fixed plan, no desperate need to win. Like his practice under the waterfall, he became still, perfectly still. The quantum armor's computers couldn't understand this. They were programmed to react to movement, to predict attacks, to counter strength with strength. But what could they do against someone who wasn't doing anything at all? In that moment of confusion, Da moved. Not a big movement, just one small step, one simple strike at the exact center of the silver mist. His hand hit something solid, the quantum core. The armor's perfect technology had been defeated by the simplest human wisdom. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. The silver mist collapsed. The champion fell. The arena went silent. Then Captain Neon started clapping, just like she had after Da's first victory. This time, everyone joined in at once. Even some of Commander Bach's own warriors were cheering. They had seen something they would never forget, that all the technology in the galaxy couldn't match the power of a mind and body working in perfect harmony. 1 week after the tournament ended, the Galactic Council held a special meeting. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from every world. Earth's victory had changed everything. Commander Bach stood before the council, his silver face dark with shame as they reviewed his attempt to cheat in the tournament. "Your actions dishonored the Galactic Defense Force," the council leader said. "But they also taught us an important lesson. We became so proud of our technology that we forgot older, deeper wisdom." Captain Neon stepped forward. "I request permission to create a new training program," she said. "One that combines our technology with Earth's traditional combat arts." Commander Bach was right about one thing. This tournament will change how we fight. But that change will make us stronger, not weaker. The council agreed. They removed Commander Bach from his position and put Captain Yan in charge of the Galactic Defense Force. Her first action was to invite Earth's masters to teach their combat arts to alien warriors. In the training rooms of the space station, something amazing began to happen. Alien warriors learned to move without their powered armor. They discovered that their bodies could do incredible things if they trained them properly. They began to understand that true strength came from inside, not from technology alone. Dag Kim watched all this from Earth's new embassy on the space station. The room had a window looking out at the stars, but he had added a small waterfall in one corner. Its peaceful sound reminded him of his mountain training ground. "You've started a revolution," Sun Park said, joining him by the window. "Half the worlds in the galaxy are building training grounds like yours. They're learning that the old ways still have value." Hannah Lee rushed into the room, excited about her latest discovery. She had been working with alien scientists to combine Earth's combat wisdom with their advanced technology. "We've created something amazing," she said. "Powered armor that learns from the user's natural movements instead of controlling them. It makes perfect technology even better by adding human wisdom." Day smiled, watching young alien warriors practice their movements under the guidance of Earth's masters. Some wore powered armor, some trained without it, but all of them moved with new grace and understanding. "The aliens thought Earth was primitive because we kept our old combat arts," he said quietly. "They didn't understand that true wisdom is knowing when to use technology and when to trust yourself. Now they're learning that both ways have value." The Galactic Council had given Earth a special position in the galaxy. They were now the guardians of what the aliens called the ancient ways. Every day, ships arrived bringing warriors who wanted to learn Earth's combat arts. They came seeking not just fighting skills, but the deeper wisdom behind them. That evening, Dai stood under his small waterfall, just as he had done on Earth. Captain Neon joined him, watching curiously. She had removed her powered armor and wore simple training clothes. "Will you teach me?" she asked. "I want to understand how you became so still under the waterfall." Day smiled and moved aside, making room for her under the falling water. As she took her place, he saw the future of the galaxy in this simple moment, the perfect blend of ancient wisdom and modern power, each making the other stronger. In the end, Earth hadn't just won a tournament. They had given the galaxy back something it had lost, the understanding that the greatest technology of all was the human mind and body working together in harmony.